Welcome to the free Flutter course, in which you will learn all the critical skills that you need in order to become a great Flutter developer. We are going to build a YouTube search app, and you will learn how to write clean, structured, and most importantly, bug-free code. Having a proper architecture is extremely critical as soon as your project grows to a substantial size, and that's why we are going to utilize the BLoC pattern. You can see the app on the screen right now. I've searched for ResoCoder Flutter and it just shows all of the results from YouTube. We are going to use the YouTube API, which we are going to actually set up in this particular first part. And when you click on any of the videos here, you're going to be taken to a detail page, which is going to load also all of the tags for the video, the full description, not just the excerpt. And it has a nice app bar with a picture. So this is what we will build in this tutorial, and you will learn things like how to fetch JSON data from an API and convert it into Dart objects using the build value package. Then for the BLoC, we are going to use an amazing library to save us from copying and pasting Dart's streams and sinks all over the place. So basically we are going to move to a higher level so that we don't have to deal with those pesky streams and sinks. And finally, we are going to build a good looking UI with a paginated ListView. Hello, welcome to ResoCoder, and let's start off with setting up the API which will be needed for everything that we do in our YouTube search app. We are in consoledevelopersgoogle.com, and you can get here by clicking on the link in the video description. You just want to sign in with your Google account. So first up, let's create a new project by clicking over here and then new project. If the UI changes somehow in the future, it's still going to be pretty similar. And you can also check out some official documentation for this developers console, which will guide you through creating a new project in the future should something change. I think that it's unlikely, but hey, things like that happen all the time. We're gonna call this project YouTube Search Tutorial and just hit create. We have to wait for it to create. Now it's created. And we can enable APIs and services by going to library here, and let's search for YouTube, and we want to enable YouTube Data API version 3, but we have to select the proper project because now it selected the one which I was preparing for this tutorial series. So let's select the one which we have just created, so YouTube Search Tutorial. Make sure you do that. And let's again search for YouTube. Now we want to enable this API, YouTube Data API v3. So enable. Once that's done, we need to create credentials. So either click here, create credentials, or just go to credentials tab. And we are going to create one. So it's going to be for the API, for the YouTube Data API version 3. We are going to be calling it from just Android in this tutorial series because I don't have a Mac, as you can probably tell. But it's going to also work the same for iOS, and if you want to have both Android and iOS, you are going to just have two API keys which you are gonna use, and then you can simply differentiate between them in Flutter by checking if you are running on iOS or Android, and then supply the proper API key, and otherwise all of the code is going to be exactly the same. An important thing here is that we want to access only public data. This way we do not need to somehow authenticate a user because public data is available for everyone. However, if we wanted to see the subscriptions which a user has, we would need to authenticate them. So then just click on what credentials do I need, and this API key is going to be generated. So just leave this browser window open for now. We are going to copy this later, and also you can get back to it by just going to credentials for your project. Now let's see the documentation for the YouTube v3 API, and you can get here by clicking on the link in the video description. As you can see, we want to use the search and list to display all of the things which are inside the list view in Flutter. So here is the full documentation. It's quite comprehensive, I think. So you can see what everything you can set up and what you can pass as a parameter. So most importantly, we can pass in max results so that we can limit it to just 5 as we are doing in our test application, right? Every page has just 5 results. So this is an important parameter. And then there is also page token for pagination. That's also really important. All right, so I've made it bigger. So page token is here. Then we also have the query, which is the actual thing that we are searching for. So for example, ResoCoder or someone else. And let's go all the way up to usage. And I always like to go to curl because this enables you to see the actual URL. Here is the start of the URL and here is the other part of the URL. So you can just copy this, place in your API key, and you can just put this into the search bar and you're gonna be good to go. So I've copied the URL and I've set up to search only 5 results at a time. So max results is set to 5. The query is ResoCoder. The type for which we are searching is video. And then we also need to supply the API key. So let's go back to our credentials, copy this API key, paste it over here, and also please use your own API key, not mine, although it's not gonna hurt me in any way. Just, yeah, use your own projects, please. And now we can search for this. It's going to return a JSON, so let's make it a bit bigger even. And we can see that this JSON contains 155 results. There are 5 results per page. And what is really important to us and interesting are these items. So every item is an object in an array called items. And every item has a snippet object inside it, which has a title, description, and then the thumbnails. And when we click on a thumbnail, we're gonna be taken to a nice page. So yeah, manage your time. And then we also have high-res thumbnail. So here it goes. And this is all the data that we need to create the ListView in our application. Then later on, we are going to make another call to this API, but not search, just only get a single video information. And that will also get us the tags of the video and the full description, not just the excerpt. Now that we know how the returned JSON data looks like, let's create the search model which will hold all of this data, convert it from JSON to Dart objects. And for that we are going to use build value package. So let's get right to it. Just a quick tip before we start coding is that you go into settings, so control and comma, and you want to search for format unsafe and make sure that it's enabled. This way you don't always have to press Shift Alt F to format the code with Dart formatter, but every time that you hit save, it's going to be formatted for you. And that is a real time saver in my opinion. We are going to completely ignore the UI part in this tutorial so we can safely close main.dart file, and instead we are first going to import all of the packages which are needed for this tutorial course. Under dependencies, under Flutter, we want to get all of these R packages, and you can get the code from the link in the video description, which is going to take you to resocoder.com. So we are using build value, build collection, HTTP, Flutter BLoC, and also Kiwi, which is a dependency injection library. As for the dev dependencies, so these are the dependencies that are not packaged into your app once you build it, are build runner, build value generator, and also Mockito. And some of you may be asking, are you going to do test-driven development since you are importing Mockito? Well, kind of yes and kind of no. The whole preparation app, so the app from which I am copying this code, was built in a test-driven manner. So I was writing tests before writing the actual code which implemented the functionality inside those tests. So you can be now sure that the app is really working, it's all good to go. it doesn't have any bugs because it's fully tested. The problem with test-driven development is that it takes quite a lot of code and quite a lot of time to do. And also the essence of test-driven development is that you are constantly thinking about how to implement it, and since I'm just going to be writing the code and explaining it, just what I have on the other screen, I'm not really going to be thinking about how to implement it. I'm just going to be explaining what I already can see, what I've already built previously. But don't worry, because I will publish the tests also, although I am not going to write them on video, so that after you watch the tutorial, you can go over to the tests and see the tests for yourself, and I'm sure you're gonna be able to learn some testing techniques from over there. So now let's hit save, and these packages are gonna be gotten. And let's start creating the search model, shall we? So we are first going to create a new folder under the lit folder. It's gonna be called data. Under this data, we are going to have a model. And under this model, we are going to have search. And finally, in this part, we are also going to create a serializer, which is needed for converting the JSON data into Dart objects. And this serializer will be living inside its own separate folder under the model. So let's call it serializer. Okay, so as I've said, we are going to use built value to create the model classes. And what do we need in the topmost model class? Well, we need a next page token and also the array of all items. Then subsequently, we are going to be dealing with an ID. We need this ID in the class because when we click on a search item over here in the list view, we are going to be taken to its detail, and for that we need to know the item's ID. And then we also need the snippet for each item. Inside the snippet, we obviously need a title and a description, and also all of the thumbnails. And that's about it. Otherwise, we don't need anything else. And that's the beauty of build value. You don't need to use all of the JSON fields. You can select which ones you need. So let's create a sequence of classes which I have just described. The topmost is gonna be called YouTube search result. So right over in the search model, we are going to create a new file, YouTube search result.dart. And now we are gonna start using the build value package. I have a separate tutorial about build value, which takes you over how to use it really in depth. So definitely check it out by clicking on the card in the corner. Build value is awesome because it allows you to create data classes in Dart, which doesn't support them natively. So data classes are classes which are compared by value and not by reference, and it also makes them immutable. It uses the builder pattern basically. It allows you to serialize and deserialize them really easily with the serializer, and overall the build value is a godsend. However, in this tutorial course I'm not gonna go over it really in depth because the separate tutorial about it really takes like 30 minutes to go over its most important parts. So if you want to learn about build value, definitely check out the separate tutorial. In that tutorial, we have created some code snippets which you can use, and those code snippets are as follows. BLTH is for build value header. This is what you need to do for every build value because it needs to have a part, and it also needs mostly to import all of these different packages here. And it's going to be called YouTube search results with underscores. The build value then generates a file called YouTube search result.g.dart, which is going to hold all of the code which makes the class a data class, which can serialize it and all of that. You can either watch the full tutorial on build value to get these snippets, or you can also check out the link in the video description for this tutorial and you can copy them from there. And then if you wanna have these snippets here, just go to preferences, then user snippets, file preferences, user snippets, and search for Dart and just copy and paste those snippets from resocoder.com over to here, and you're gonna be good to go. We have build value header, build value serializable, and also simple build value. Now we want to create build value serializable, so BLTS. It will be called YouTube search result. Now hit tab, and it will have two fields, nullable string next page token. So we want to mark it with nullable annotation. It's going to be a string, and build values need to have only getters so that we cannot set them, because we can set these properties only through the builder pattern right here, through this builder. So string get next page token, it's nullable because if we are on the last page, or there is no page present, or there is only one page, then the next page token is going to be null. Then similarly to this next page token, we want to have another field, but it's not going to be nullable this time, and it's going to be a build list, which is a normal list, but it's better also from the build, not build value, but build collection, which is a package from the same developer. So thanks for that. So build list containing search items, and this is the class which we are going to build in just a little while, and also get items. Also, don't worry, now we're going to have really many errors here, but we are going to fix all of them at the end, because we first need to create all of the classes to get rid of these errors. When we are creating the YouTube search result, let's also create YouTube search error.dart. This will be only a simple class implementing an exception, and it will have one final string message. So this is not a build value. Also, you can get the code from the link in the video description, as I've said already. Now let's create search item. So again, BLTH for the header search item. Then create BLTS for serializable build value. It's gonna be called search item, and it's going to have fields like ID, get ID. This is again a class which is not yet created, and then also search snippet, get snippet. Okay, so now let's create this ID. We are going to create another file called id.dart, and inside of it, it's going to look like this. Again, BLTH for the header, just simply ID, and then we're going to have build value serializable again, ID, and it's going to have only one property, string get video ID. Now in the search item, we also have a search snippet, so let's create that right now. Again, BLTH, call it search snippet with underscore, and then BLTS, and now search snippet. This search snippet will have the most properties out of these model classes, and these are going to be as follows: string published at, then string channel ID, string title, string description, then thumbnails, which we are going to create in just a little while, and also finally string channel title. Now we need to create thumbnails. So again, BLTH thumbnails, BLTS, again thumbnails, and let's take a look at how it looks in the browser. So the thumbnails object has three sub-objects, so to say, which are default, medium, and high. The problem is that we cannot simply use the name default, because default is a keyword in Dart. For that reason, we need to do a little bit of trickery here, and that is that we are going to create thumbnail get default. You see, we cannot use it, but we can add an underscore after the name. The Dart plugin doesn't like it because it says that we should name non-constant identifiers using lower camel case, but that doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is that we need to somehow connect this differently named property to the JSON field, and we can do that with a wire name on build value field annotation. So just select wire name and set it to default. And now whenever we are deserializing, whatever is called default is gonna be put inside default underscore. And then let's add two other thumbnails, so medium and also high. And now let's create the thumbnail class itself. So again, BLTH thumbnail, then BLTS thumbnail, and it's going to have these three properties: string URL, then int width and int height. Now we've saved all of these classes by hitting Ctrl K and then S on Visual Studio Code. And let's go to the terminal and let's write Flutter packages pub run build underscore runner, and let's hit watch. This will trigger a build which will generate all of the build value classes whenever there is a new file or we have saved a file or anything along those lines. If you don't want to do it like that, you can also run a one-off build by writing build here, but we want to watch. Now let's leave it to run, and we are going to probably get a bunch of errors because we have not yet implemented the serializers. Oh, so what we didn't do yet is that even though the build will still fail because we do not have the serializers, we can at least import the classes which are already present. So for example, we can import search item here. So Control dot and import this package. Then over in search item, we can import ID and also search snippet. In search snippet, we can import thumbnails. So again, Control dot import library, and inside thumbnails, we can import the thumbnail class, and it probably ends here. All right, so now let's again hit Control K S. Let's see the console. So build succeeded now. That's fine. But we still have errors. That's because we do not have the serializers yet present. And also you can see all of the generated classes. So for example, id.g.dart is here, and it's quite long. This is all of the code which implements the proper behavior of a build value class. Let's also create one other file inside the search folder. It's gonna be called modelsearch.dart, and this file will simply export all of the other files present inside the search folder. So export ID, search item, search snippet, search result, or YouTube search result, and also YouTube search error. This is quite handy because then if we want to import, for example, both search item and search snippet, we can just import model search and not these two things separately. We are going to use this model search.dart inside the serializer. So let's create new serializers.dart. It's not a build value, but we can still use the BLTH here for the header, so just serializers. Plus it definitely needs a part because it also gets a generated code. And this file will hold only one top level property, final serializers, called serializers, and it's going to be equal to underscore $, so the generated class, which is not yet present here, or actually not class, but only a field, serializers. We want to convert it to builder, and on this builder, we want to add a plugin, but just so that we can see the IntelliSense, we are first going to put an underscore semicolon at the end and save it. It's going to generate the code for us, although not yet because we need to supply add serializers for annotation, and we also need to supply the types for which these serializers will there be. It's gonna be a const array or const list because there are actually no arrays in Dart apparently, and it will serialize YouTube search result, then search item, and all of this which we have just created. So let's import the package modelsearch.dart. And why are there no thumbnails and thumbnail in the modelsearch.dart? That's interesting. I actually know why they are not there. That's because we are going to move them in later parts of this tutorial series, but for now we can just simply export even those thumbnails and thumbnail from this model search. Alright, once we have that, they are gonna be imported even inside the serializers.dart. Oh, and actually let's not call to builder yet on these serializers. Now just let's hit save. You can see that the code for the generated code for serializers was just generated, and now we can call to builder on this serializers property. And on this 2 builder, we can now use the IntelliSense, and we want to add plugin, and the plugin's name is standard JSON plugin. This is so that we can serialize and deserialize a JSON which looks like this, so what we are currently getting, otherwise we could not deserialize this JSON. So standard JSON plugin, it's a class, so instantiate it. We want to also import it, so control dot and import standard JSON plugin .dart. And finally, let's call build. After all of these parentheses, let's hit save. The Dart formatter will automatically reformat the code for us. And we are now pretty much good to go here. We can close serializers.dart, also model search.dart. And now let's go into every single file that we have here, and let's hit control dot on serializers. And we want to import YouTube search tutorial data, model, serializer, and serializers.dart in every single file that has currently some errors. So import it here in search item, import it in search snippet, import it in thumbnail, then also import it in, this was thumbnails, and also thumbnail needs it. So import it even here. Also ID, let's not forget about that, obviously. And now finally, we can hit again Control K and S to save everything. And we can see that the build was successfully completed. And we can even see that we don't have any errors anymore. Alright, then that's it for the first part of this Flutter YouTube search tutorial course. You have learned how to create the search model, which are basically built value classes, which are going to hold the data converted from JSON. You surely do not want to miss the next part, so definitely subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell button if you want to join the notification squad and get notified about every new video that I upload. The next part is gonna be dealing with actual fetching of the data from the API, so definitely stay tuned. If this tutorial helped you, give it a like and also share it with others. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions or questions or anything else to say. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and see you in the next video.